do I still believe that Polkadot's native token called DOT going to the price of $150 during this bull run as a reasonable price target? Hypothetically, again, yes, even though that's not financial advice. The reason being is because I think Polkadot is a very special project. People oftentimes underestimate it. They think it's bad. And they say, oh, wow, take a look at the price pullback when it comes to DOT. This is completely trash. Well, I disagree with that because in the short term, there's going to be volatile price movements, especially as of right now, at least at the time of this recording, right? It was recently announced that when it comes to Bybit, they did experience an alleged hack of over $1 billion worth of Ethereum. And, as a result of that, of course, there's going to be a lot of short-term FUD. Now, allegedly they're on it to kind of solve it. But even still, despite that, the way you take a look at it is that whatever happens as a result of that, I do believe better days are ahead because I'm taking a look at the long term here. I'm taking a look at what could DOT be, let's say, near the end of 2025. Now, why am I taking a look at near the end of this year, more specifically? It's because we do know that usually altcoins, as a worst-case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. The last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April of last year, so 18 months from then is actually around October this year. Now, this is more so of a gauge or benchmark. I would say it's not like a surefire date or anything, but I think if anything, it's a good historical indicator, if that makes sense. So, again, things could always happen sooner or later, but I'm still going to be bullish on Polkadot because I think the fundamentals are too fantastic. I mean, let's take this into consideration. What is Polkadot aiming to do, right? Polkadot is aiming to connect blockchains together. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, who cares about this? Well, I do care about it. And here's the thing, Polkadot, it's focused on something called interoperability. Now, why is this crucial? It's because many networks and many blockchains out there currently, they lack interoperability. Now, why does this problem exist? Because we take a look at, for instance, right, two very famous examples of this situation, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, because they're independent of one another, they can't freely send data and value to each other. So as a result of that, again, they lack interoperability. Now, who comes in and saves the day? It's going to be something like Polkadot because, again, they are focused on that. And granted, as of right now, there's many blockchains, many networks, but I think it's only fair to assume that there's going to be more in the future. I mean, just think about the trajectory of the growth of the amount of crypto owners. Like, for instance, back in 2021, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. Now, there's over 600 million, according to Crypto.com research. So again, with that type of growth that we're seeing, I mean, basically double since back in the peak of the 2021 bull run as of right now. Can you imagine what it's going to be like in 5 years, 10 years? I think it's only fair to assume that when there is a demand, usually there's going to be also a lot of supply to try to accommodate that demand, right? And that is why the way you take a look at it is that there's going to be more blockchains that are going to pop up, more networks. And Polkadot, they're waiting there in the wings. They're waiting there to really, kind of remedy a problem that's often existing, right? As of right now, again, lacking interoperability. And there's actually not that many projects really focus on this either. So I think that when it comes to Polkadot, it's kind of like this dominating force in the space. Now, of course, people would argue that, hey, there's something like Axelar. And granted, I'm very bullish on Axelar. But really, Polkadot is just too massive to really even compete with, right? Axelar, I think, could be a very strong number 2, but Polkadot just feels like the dominating number 1. So I do really like its position here. Not to mention, you take a look at Polkadot, the special thing about it is that it has a quote-unquote support system. At least that's what I call it, right? A support system. The reason being is because there's something called Kusama. Now, why do I consider this a support system? It's because people often refer to Kusama as being the canary network to Polkadot. Now, what does this even mean, right? A canary network. People may be thinking, well, let me explain. Because usually developers, when they want to launch on Polkadot, they will typically launch on Kusama first. Now, you may be thinking, okay, why would they do that? And the reason is because they typically do this to test out the project under real economic conditions. It's kind of like test driving a car or something like that, or like getting a free trial at a gym. It's just kind of like to test out the waters, right? Now, granted, when it comes to Kusama, let's say a project wants to launch on Polkadot, but then they start off with Kusama and then they don't want to move on to Polkadot. They could do that too. They could exist on Kusama, like for instance, something like Moonriver, which I'm very bullish on. That's on Kusama, right? But then, generally speaking, projects, they do first start off with Kusama and then they move on later to Polkadot. Now, people may be thinking, okay, what is the benefit of doing that? The benefit is, when it comes to Kusama, first of all, it's far easier to make changes on. Second of all, it's far cheaper to rent building space. So really, it's just more ideal for a project to start off with Kusama before moving on to Polkadot. But I think if anything, this is a genius move when it comes to the whole team, right, behind this, because they understand that, okay, not many developers may not necessarily just want to fully commit to Polkadot because, of course, right, they want to try it out first, right, in a different scenario, I would say, in a sense, right, through Kusama. So that's a genius move right there. Again, they understand that maybe some developers may find it too expensive or too big of a commitment to jump straight onto Polkadot, so Kusama is that perfect segue in between. Polkadot is a very well thought out project. I mean, the amount of holders is also well over 1 million when it comes to DOT, its native token. This is a project that from the ground up, I think is built properly. It's not some random nonsense, and I do believe in this. And keep in mind, if DOT were to go to the price of $150, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $230 billion, which some people may think, okay, that's too much, man. $230 billion, that's over $200 billion again, right? That's crazy. Well, the way you take a look at it is this. We've seen Ethereum reach around $550 billion of market cap back in 2021. Again, a time where I feel like things cannot be as poppin', quote unquote, as what we could see this time around during the peak of this bull run. If Ethereum could reach that back then, why can't DOT this time around, at least during the peak of this bull run, reach a market cap that is over $300 billion less than that? Again, what Ethereum achieved years ago with far less crypto owners back then. I just don't see why not. I think Polkadot is a big narrative. Yes, has DOT had a massive pullback? I would arguably say yes, because it pretty much has, but then I still think better days are ahead. And because of this quote-unquote price pullback, now DOT going to the price of $150 is around a 30x from here. Now, it's not like the quote-unquote 100x or the 1000x that some people may look for, but in my opinion, it just seems like, wow, for a project that's not even like that unknown, hypothetically doing that maybe, this could be something amazing here. I'm not telling anyone to buy DOT, by the way. I can only speak on my behalf. But anytime I do acquire income, I'm going to be acquiring DOT, holding and just waiting. Literally, that's it. It's so simple. My strategy just revolves around believing in a project, understanding what it's all about, and again, just continuously acquiring more and more. And keep in mind, Polkadot isn't even a difficult project to understand, at least in my perspective. It takes about like 5 minutes to even talk about what it's all about, right? If we even minus Kusama, it's like a 3-minute thing. Some other projects out there, they're overly confusing. I don't get it. For what? Let's say I see sometimes a project, right, that's focused on like DeFi or like focused on NFTs. And then I take a look at what they're all about. They try to overcomplicate things. It's like, what is that even about? It's like, literally, it's an NFT or DeFi project. Why overcomplicate it? Some things are just better in a simple way, in my opinion. And I think there's beauty in simplicity. So when I take a look at something like Polkadot, I think it's a very simple and easy to understand project. Again, DOT has over 1 million holders, so it's a very good community and also very strong, not to mention, in my opinion. And DOT at the price of $150 during this bull run, I don't see why not. I'm still very bullish on it, and I'm not giving up when it comes to Polkadot. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace. Bye.